I've filed the divorce papers. Get out in a week. Jamie looked at me with a hateful gaze, holding hands with the woman standing next to him. Perhaps he is trying to show how close they are. Occasionally intertwining their arms or fooling around, I felt like I was being shown something I didn't need to see. It was a sudden illness, but I was discharged from the hospital without any problems. For some reason, Jamie's name is not in the family registry. When I rushed home, there was also a woman I didn't know. I heard that Jamie had used his company's welfare benefits to care for me. Using nursing leave to have an affair, what kind of nerve does he have? He was the type to throw away things that belonged to others if they were not necessary for his life, and it seems he doesn't need me anymore either. I never thought I'd be treated with such contempt while married. He probably thinks he's the one who gets to decide everything, and his word is law. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to act this horribly. However, I have already made moves that Jamie cannot escape from. I intend to make him realize that he's the only one who doesn't know anything. I am Ashley Morgan, a caregiver who works at a care facility, and I turned 40 this year. After graduating from university, I worked in sales for a while but have been working solely as a caregiver since leaving sales. I married Jamie when I was 35, and we met at my workplace. The cafeteria in my care facility is run by an external food service provider. The owner is very particular about the food, which is why special care is given to the meals served to our clients. The zest for life comes from eating delicious food, is the owner's catchphrase, and after comparing several companies, he chose the current one. It's appreciated that a representative visits our care facility 2 to 3 times a month. Jamie was the representative for the food service company. As he regularly visited the facility, we started making small talk. Working in a food-related company, his daily life was very meticulous, which I found appealing. It was refreshing to meet a single man who lived so meticulously, as that was not the common image I had. His day starts with favorite bakery bread and coffee, followed by a dinner rich in vegetables, ending with a relaxing herbal tea. Jamie, you lead a very meticulous life. I'm always in a rush, so I'd like to learn from you. It's nothing meticulous. I'm just doing what's normal. That normal is possible because it's you, Jamie. I don't know where to start. If that's the case, I recommend herbal tea. I'll bring you some of my favorite herbal tea next time, please try it. This herbal tea became a regular topic of conversation between Jamie and me. The herbal tea Jamie introduced me to was very delicious, and I wanted to continue drinking it daily, not just for health. Hello. The herbal tea you introduced me to last time was so delicious that I bought some myself. It seems like I can keep it up daily. That's great. The herbal tea I gave you has a calming effect on a restless heart. I thought it would be perfect for you, Ashley. A restless heart, you say? You seemed tired, so I thought if your heart calms down, your feelings might change too. Jamie's eyes seemed to overflow with kindness as he looked at me. I had always been too busy with others to take care of myself. To think that someone was watching over me like this. I felt a happiness I had never felt before. Since the first time we met, I was somehow drawn to you, Ashley. I'm so happy we can talk like this. If it's okay with you, would you consider dating me? My answer was already decided. If you're okay with me, I'd be delighted. I think I've led a rather unremarkable life, if I do say so myself. After graduating from a university I chose somewhat aimlessly, I was hired as a salesperson at a company but could never quite achieve good sales performance and was always being scolded. I was berated daily as a burden to the company, useless, and eventually, it became too much, and I resigned. By chance, I found a job at a care facility. Working there, I came to realize the profound nature of caregiving and studied every day while working to obtain my qualification. The job was shift-based, including night shifts, and studying while keeping up with this schedule meant I often had to put my own needs last. To think that someone was watching over me as I worked so relentlessly. Despite both of our busy schedules, we found time to spend together. Dates with Jamie were mundane things like shopping or movies. Among these, shopping with the future in mind made me feel happy. How about we get matching mugs? We can use them when we start living together. That sounds great. I've been wanting a simple mug like that. That's great. I get excited thinking about living together someday. We gradually prepared for our future married life by picking out things to use together. While sitting in a cafe we stopped at during shopping, Jamie suddenly turned serious. What's wrong? You suddenly look so serious. Do you have a stomachache? No. It's just that. Don't strain yourself. Should we call it a day and go home? I can't wait any longer. While shopping and thinking about living with you, my feelings have become overwhelming. Will you marry me? Jamie looked at me as he spoke. Had there ever been such a happy moment in my life before? Yes, I'd be honored. I'm so relieved. I thought you might say no. I had no idea you were thinking that much about it. Today was the most nerve-wracking day for me. The tension that had been building seemed to melt away from Jamie's relieved expression. The answer was already decided. With you, Jamie, it seems like every day will be happy. And so, Jamie and I got married. We both had been living alone, but Jamie's apartment was quite spacious for one person, so we decided to live there. I brought the necessary belongings and started our newlywed life at Jamie's place. His apartment remained as meticulously kept as he had described. I had visited Jamie's apartment several times before, so I knew it was meticulously organized, not a speck of dust in sight. Thinking that our new life together was starting here made my heart race. What kind of happiness would await us? Little did I know at the time, however, that this excitement and anticipation would soon be shattered. It had been 6 months since we married. One day, I was preparing for my night shift at home. I usually brought a nighttime snack, uniform, and towels for my shifts, but I couldn't find my belongings. The tumbler was a recent gift from a friend and one of my favorites. I thought so, but I can't find my towel or the tumbler I always use. I thought perhaps Jamie had accidentally taken it to work. But would Jamie really take my towel and tumbler by mistake? No matter how much I searched, I couldn't find them. Having no choice, I decided to use a spare towel in my locker and buy some tea at a convenience store on my way to work. Deciding that, I left for work. The work went smoothly as usual. I wanted to get home quickly, take a shower, and sleep in bed as I had been feeling quite tired lately. And more than anything, since I had been working night shifts consecutively, I missed Jamie and wanted to see him. Rushing with this thought, I hurried home. When I arrived, Jamie, who seemed to be about to leave for work, was in the living room. As usual, he was ironing his favorite shirt meticulously. Ah, isn't that Ashley? Ah, Jamie, good timing, there's something I want to ask you, is that okay? You mean about the tumbler? I didn't expect Jamie to bring up the tumbler. Since he mentioned it, he might know something about it. Yes, I can't find my tumbler or my towel. Do you know anything about them, Jamie? I looked before going to work, but I couldn't find them. Huh, is that so? I think I brought them from my previous house. Is that so? I've already thrown those away. I couldn't believe Jamie bluntly said he had thrown them away. Why? There was no need to throw them away without asking. Things need to be organized properly. He looked at me with a puzzled face, as if not understanding what was wrong. I was shocked to learn that he had thrown them away without my knowledge. The tumbler was a birthday gift from an old friend, and because it was so special to me, I couldn't stay silent when I heard he had thrown it away. Then Jamie sighed as he looked at me. To think you would use something with such poor taste, Ashley. I thought I did you a favor by getting rid of unnecessary items, but that's no way to speak, is it? His face suggested he didn't think he'd done anything wrong, even though he had thrown away my belongings. I was so angry that someone had disposed of my precious items without my consent that I couldn't find the words to respond. Is that all you wanted to talk about? I have to go now. By the way, Ashley, make sure you tidy up your unnecessary items too. Unnecessary items? What does he mean? I had decluttered when we got married and moved into this house to ensure I didn't overcrowd Jamie's place, which had been his bachelor home. Realizing what Jamie might be implying, I decided to look around the house. Although I was exhausted and sleepy from the night shift, a bad feeling woke me up. My hunch was right, there were items that weren't mine in the house: clothes, shoes, bags, and accessories I had bought during my single days. At a glance, I hadn't taken inventory of everything, but it seemed quite a lot had been discarded. I couldn't believe he would dispose of someone else's belongings like this. I had carefully selected and brought only the essentials for our new life together with Jamie. Honestly, I didn't have many personal items, and I wasn't messy. Yet he disposed of them anyway? It seemed that items with bright colors or characters were thrown out. Probably, Jamie had disposed of items he didn't like or that didn't match the interior decor. If he had just mentioned it, I would have considered getting rid of them, but why do it without asking? I was so shocked by having my cherished items thrown away that I couldn't move for a while. Maybe there's something wrong with me for not realizing what kind of person he was, but still, there was no reason for him to throw things away like that. I felt my mind going blank from the shock. I'm not sure how long I sat there, but when I noticed, the sky outside was tinted with the colors of sunset. After returning home, I had been sitting in shock upon learning that Jamie had disposed of my belongings. I looked at the clock, and it was almost 6 p.m. Realizing that Jamie would be home soon, I tried to stand up but felt dizzy. Honestly, I had no appetite and couldn't think of what to cook. While I was still processing this, Jamie came home. I'm home, so what have you been doing all day today? Ah, welcome back, Jamie. I'm feeling a bit under the weather. Oh, is that so? What about dinner? He started to take off his suit and spray it, seemingly uninterested in my well-being. Sorry, I haven't made anything because I'm not feeling well and I don't have an appetite. There's some meat marinating in the sauce though, should I just grill it? Ah, that's fine. He answered grumpily and plopped down on the sofa to start fiddling with his smartphone. What, how long are you going to sit there? You're kind of in the way. Jamie glared at me as if to say I was a nuisance. It was hard to believe this was the same Jamie who used to worry about me first and foremost. Maybe something unpleasant happened at work. Thinking this, I decided to quietly leave the room, but then Jamie stopped me. Hey, you're just going to leave without saying anything? Don't you have anything to say to me? I used to think his eyes were kind, but now they seemed cold. As I felt the chill from his gaze, I responded. I'm sorry I didn't prepare dinner. I'm feeling a bit sick, so I'm going to bed early. I realized too late that he was not as considerate as I thought. Could I really continue to live with him like this forever? I was filled with such doubts. Perhaps because of all these thoughts, I felt worse than ever before. I started getting dizzy easily, and I was constantly battling nausea. Honestly, I couldn't function at work. On my days off, I spent the whole day in bed, and I was taking frequent breaks from work. Even though I used to be the type to bounce back energetically the next day after working hard, now I was falling apart. Tormented by severe ill health, I decided to consult a major hospital. The cause wasn't clear, but since I was feeling so unwell, I had to be hospitalized for tests. After a few days in the hospital without a clear diagnosis and no improvement in my condition, my stay was extended. I felt anxious that Jamie might be angry about it. Then, Jamie visited my hospital room. I'm sorry for the trouble, Jamie, especially when you're busy with work. They haven't figured out what's wrong yet, but I'll get better soon, so please bear with me. Don't be silly, don't apologize. I'll support you as much as I can until you get better. Jamie's smile had returned to the kind one I remembered before our marriage. That Jamie I saw at home must have been upset about work or something. I reassured myself of that. Thank you. All right, I'll head back for today. Oh, and I'll take some leave for caregiving, so call me anytime you need. With that, Jamie left. I remembered he had once mentioned that his workplace benefits included leave for family care. I didn't know the exact details or how long the leave would be, but I remembered thinking that large companies really are different. I felt reassured knowing he could be by my side, but also knew I might need to ask him for various small favors, so I was grateful for the leave. I immediately contacted Jamie with some things I needed him to bring to the hospital, but all my calls went to voicemail. Thinking it was strange, I went to sleep, but the next day, I still couldn't reach him. It was definitely odd, so I left a message, but it never got read. While I felt anxious, I focused on recovering from my mysterious ill health. Thanks to my dedication to treatment, I was able to leave the hospital about 3 weeks later. I informed Jamie of my discharge, but still, no message was read. I worried something might have happened to Jamie. All I wanted was to get home as quickly as possible. Then I remembered that I needed some documents for work. I thought there was a form I had to submit at the government office. It was tough to go there while still recovering, and I was worried about Jamie, but it would be hard to go back later, so I stopped by the office on my way home. There was something off about the document issued by the office. It was supposed to show the data for all family members, but strangely, only my name was printed. It should have definitely included both Jamie and my names. At that moment, I had a bad feeling. I hurried home, and as I approached, I sensed someone else was in the apartment. I smelled a perfume at the entrance that Jamie never used. Entering the living room, I saw Jamie with a woman I didn't know. Jamie, who is this?" Jamie turned around with a smirk, closely followed by the woman who then spoke. "Is this the person Jamie told me about?" "Yeah, but it's all okay now." I had no idea what Jamie meant by "it's all okay now." Amid this situation, I found myself calmly noting that it seemed like something out of a drama. I was so shocked that I accidentally dropped my bag. The documents I had received from the government office fell out. Gathering myself, I decided to ask Jamie something. "Hey, who is this person?" Also, when I got the documents from the government office, only my name was on them. "Do you know anything about that?" Jamie answered with a smirk. "I've filed for divorce." I thought I had misheard, but by Jamie's expression, it didn't seem like a joke. "Wait, what do you mean?" "A divorce paper." "That's right, I don't need a defective product. It's just common sense to get rid of what you don't need." He snorted dismissively and glared at me. "I thought marrying you would make my life a bit easier, but that's not the case at all. Plus, you're sick and in the hospital with no clue when you'll be discharged. That's problematic." "Really? I wouldn't leave Jamie on his own like that. It's best to let go of dead weight. Get out in a week." Katie pointed at me, laughing. "Katie is so kind. Honestly, I wish you would leave right now." As they spoke, the two of them intertwined their hands. I couldn't understand what I was being shown. This was the house I had moved into when I married Jamie, and I wondered what these two were trying to say. Jamie then threw a large duffel bag at my feet. "My boss is one of those old-fashioned guys who says a man isn't complete until he's married. I just married you because he said he'd give me a big project if I did." "Wait, I thought you married me because you loved me." "I never actually said I liked you. I just thought you were an easy option for marriage. Obviously, I'd prefer to be with someone beautiful, right?" Indeed, Katie was dressed like a modern, beautiful office lady. Her nails were neatly painted, and her hair was stylishly curled. See, timing is everything. The person who can act quickly wins. "So, when are you leaving?" Jamie pressed for an answer, looking at me intently. So, he had snagged a somewhat prominent woman he often saw at work to impress his boss and secure a promotion. It seemed I was only needed for the sake of marriage, not because he truly loved me. I understood Jamie's feelings all too well. Of course, my response was decided. "No, I'm leaving right now." With that, I left the house within 3 seconds. Actually, after being discharged, I planned to stay with my parents in the next town for a while, so I had already sent my everyday items there. Everything I needed for work was in my locker at work, so there were no issues. I stuffed the documents that were on the table next to my bag as I left. Included were some detective agency documents and an envelope printed with Jamie's company's name. I then headed straight to a particular place. My destination was Jamie's office. I had been to Jamie's office 2 or 3 times before for various reasons. In fact, I had received mail from Jamie's company during my hospital stay. It was the mail forwarded to my hospital room. The envelope addressed to me contained several documents necessary for family caregiving leave. It appeared that not only Jamie had to fill out these forms, but as the person being cared for, I also needed to complete some. I brought these documents to submit them directly to Jamie's workplace. Jamie's boss, who had thrown a celebration dinner at the time of our wedding, happened to be there, so I handed them directly to him. He looked surprised as he glanced at me, repeatedly checking the whiteboard in the office. On the whiteboard in Jamie's office, a large magnet that read, "Caregiving leave," was prominently displayed, and beneath it, "Return undetermined," was also written. This meant that within Jamie's office, he was seen as someone who might not know when he could return to work because he was caring for his wife. Given that I, his wife, had largely recovered and was here delivering documents, their surprise was understandable. I was asked various questions by Jamie's boss and answered them honestly. I explained the reason for my hospitalization, the frequency of visits, and details about the support. Jamie's boss looked at me with an expression that seemed to say he couldn't believe it. According to him, what Jamie had told him was completely different from my account, which left him puzzled. However, after comparing the medical certificates and hospital receipts I submitted, as well as the number of days Jamie had taken off, it seemed he believed I was telling the truth. Then, I presented another document. It was a divorce certificate, and Jamie's boss was speechless. If someone who had taken leave to care for his supposedly ill wife was actually divorced, his boss couldn't just stay silent. It seemed he judged it as no different from falsely taking leave, and something had to be done about it. Indeed, what Jamie was doing was clearly skiving off work, and that too with an affair involved. Taking leave under false pretenses for an affair and filing for divorce without consent. That was utterly unforgivable. As I left Jamie's workplace, I noticed that there were dozens of missed calls from Jamie. Wondering if he still had something to say, I was about to put away my phone when Jamie called again. "Hey, you didn't say anything unnecessary, did you?" Trying to contain my irritation at his first words, I responded. "Unnecessary? What do you mean?" "Whatever you say, everyone's going to believe me anyway. Don't get it twisted." With that, he hung up. Was that his way of warning me? He must have assumed I wouldn't say anything out of line. I went to a law firm to discuss filing for divorce from Jamie and seeking compensation for his affair. I provided evidence collected by a detective agency I had hired earlier, along with information about the other woman, and decided to seek compensation from both Jamie and his affair partner. They thought they could take the best for themselves and then ignore the consequences. I couldn't let that happen. The lawyer worked quickly, and within a few days, Jamie and his affair partner had received the documents for compensation claims. Both of them called me in a panic. "Hey, what the hell are you playing at?" "Yeah. What are you doing, you rejected one?" Their voices were shrill like yapping puppies, causing my ears to hurt just from listening. "I'm just doing what's necessary." "Did you really think this would all end without any consequences?" "You're overstepping, Ashley." "When did you find out?" "When?" "I've known for a while. Even though I work night shifts, it's strange not to see your husband for days on end, don't you think?" "That's..." "Thought you wouldn't be suspected if you said it was work?" "I'm the type who wants to know if something doesn't seem right, so I had it investigated." Jamie sounded quite angry over the phone, his breathing rough. "You had it investigated?" "That's low. I think sneaking around with an affair partner while married is much worse." "And she's from a company you do business with, isn't she?" Who Katie is and where she's from is none of your business. If anything happens to Katie, I won't forgive you. He seems to be living in a fantasy world. He still seemed oblivious to the situation he was in. You have time to worry about others? Well, whatever. Just make sure you don't cause trouble for anyone else. And there was one more issue. Katie, Jamie's affair partner, had not paid any compensation yet. I wonder if Katie thinks she won't have to pay as long as she remains silent, or if she truly believes she's not at fault. Either way, I can't just sit back and ignore this. I decided not to let it slide and consulted with a lawyer again. Eventually, we proceeded to garnish Katie's wages. It seems that her affair was exposed to her workplace as a result of the wage garnishment. I received numerous calls from Katie. I was reluctant to answer the phone, but I didn't want to delay dealing with the hassle, so I decided to pick up. What were you thinking? Because of you, I might get fired. It seems that the affair and the subsequent situation have made her a pariah at work. Both Katie and Jamie, although they work in different places, are apparently being forced to choose between transferring to a rural branch or resigning. Well, if someone who cheats is in the office, isn't it natural for the atmosphere to get worse? Just choose between transferring or resigning, right? No way. I can't live in the countryside. If you hadn't said anything, I could have continued as before. You think you could have continued as before? I couldn't help but ask, feeling doubtful. Yes. I could get married and Jamie would be happy to marry me, and then it would all be happily ever after. I felt a bit of sympathy for Katie. Being oblivious can be pitiful in a way. Do you seriously believe that? On what basis can you say he won't cheat again? With the power of love, there won't be any cheating. You don't need to tell me that. Fine. If you're happy with my leftovers, go ahead. But don't think you can evade paying the compensation. I said what I wanted to say and decided to hang up on Katie. People who do such dishonorable things cannot just be happy as if nothing happened. Thinking you can grasp happiness just for yourselves after an affair is a big mistake. According to rumors, Jamie and Katie are leading miserable lives. Both are stressed out being scorned at work, and they resigned as if fleeing. After resigning, their job search was difficult as the bad reputation had spread to unexpected places. Of course, no one wants to hire someone known for cheating, and they are struggling to find work. About 6 months after the divorce, Jamie called me. Hello, what do you want now? Hey, can I work at your place? I've got nowhere else to go, and I keep getting rejected everywhere. I can't make a living. That's what happens when you do things you can't even tell others about. I was thinking I could work at your place. I was astounded at his audacity. You think you can work at my place? Stop making a mockery of everything. You should realize by now that you're in this mess because of your own actions. With that, Jamie hung up the phone, possibly upset by my firm response. I may never have spoken so clearly to him throughout our relationship and marriage. Finally, speaking my mind felt refreshing. I continue to work at the caregiving facility. After being discharged from the hospital, I spent some time at my parents' house but have since returned to work and am enjoying living alone for the first time in a while. Working in caregiving is endlessly educational, and I find it exciting because no 2 days are the same, even after years in the field with qualifications. One day, I was offered a promotion. They appreciated my dedication and wanted me to lead the team as a chief. Honestly, I've never held such a leadership role before, so the offer was both thrilling and bewildering. However, it's an opportunity I'd like to embrace and excel in. Additionally, I received the results from my caregiving certification exam. Fortunately, I passed on the first attempt. With this qualification and a promotion, I can earn enough to live independently without any issues. I'm ready to believe in my potential and take on new challenges.